What a season finale. Woo! I'm going to go off script on this one, folks, because this one needs to actually show some kind of passion and major enthusiasm, and I can't do that scripted. I'll say right off the bat, pacing, solid, fluid, kept you on the edge of your seat. It's essentially taking a 90-minute or 2-hour rollable action movie and condensing it into a 20-minute format for regular weekly TV. I think the way that the writers had Kayo's secret to the boys revealed is pretty much what I was expecting that they would do. I would have preferred Kayo had told them without the Hood having to do it using douchebag method 502, but that's, you know, but that's by the book and all that jazz, and it makes for a more dramatic effect if it's the antagonist who reveals to the protagonist that one of their main good guys happens to be related to them. And this, of course, in turn makes the boys question, is she really on our side? Where do we stand on all this? Like little clever nods, use this. The 2004 movie is kind of referenced in a very subtle way with the Hood infiltrating the island, but this time it's actually done right. That was one of the major problems with that movie 12 years ago, is that movie was anything but a Thunderbirds movie. You mean, yeah, you had The Craft, and you had Ron Cook and Sophia Myles as Lady Penelope and Parker respectively, but that was not a Thunderbirds movie. Whereas with this, it's much more toned down, and this is how I think the Thunderbirds movie would have gone if people that actually had a clue what Thunderbirds was all about back then. It would have been a better movie. But that's enough for the bitterness, and we'll just get on with this. I like the nod to Stingray with Wasp as a security protocol. I thought, that's very clever. I like what you did there. And this is one of the few times we've seen Thunderbird 4 actually launch from the island. It was almost in a very similar vein to how Stingray was launched, as a means of launching beneath the water surface. It would have been cool if we had seen Thunderbird 4 go through an ocean door and have a blast of air bubbles go through, but that's my hang-up for another time. Again, I really can't fault the writing. It's one of those things where all the stakes are raised, the extreme level is pushed to the limit and beyond, and there are turns that you don't see coming. I mean, the idea of Kayo actually having the contingency plan with Wasp and then diverting the Hood to the neighbouring island Mateo, I thought that was really clever on the writer's part. And it kind of does mean that International Rescue's base is not really a secret anymore with the GDF coming in, but then there's the trade-offs, like, well, what choice do we have? You know, we want to take this guy in. I thought it was so satisfying to see Thunderbirds 1 and 2, respectively, pull the Hood ship apart. From an animation perspective, that was really well good. And you know, I've been praising the animation of this show all season long, and it's vindicated, especially with this episode. And it's really one of those situations where you have to remind yourself that these ships are CG craft, but because they've got their hand painted via glass panels that are then scanned into the computer, it can actually fool the eye into thinking that these are actual miniatures. And, you know, milk VFX, you know, guys, I applaud you. I mean, you're able to make things look real that some movies can't do. And CG in movies these days, ugh, what are they doing? everyone sold their part in spades this week. It was like, you know, the whole team came together and each respective voice actor literally gave a grade A performance and then some. Even if they were on for like maybe a minute, as far as Rosamund Pike and David Graham are concerned, you know, that they did it in spades. Rasmus, you know, really overselling his no-nonsense performance of Scott, and the youthful enthusiasm of Alan Tracy and David Menken, respectively, voicing Virgil and Gordon. You know, again, everybody sold it and then some. I really can't say anything further than that. You know, everybody pulled their A game. The final thought I have for this season 1 finale is, I like the fact that Jeff is mentioned, and that international rescue, as Grandma says, was his gift to the world that everyone is keeping alive. But it does suggest, from the story perspective, where is he? You know, because he was heavily felt in this, especially when Scott said, "What would Dad do?" But that also leaves a huge question going into season 2 later this year. The Hood says that there's someone much worse than him. Who could that be? Because most people that know their Thunderbirds history and trivia know that the Hood is the A-game antagonist. There is no one, and I mean no one, worse than him. But is there? As a thing, in about maybe 5 to 6 months' time, we will be given an answer to that. But to end on a high note, I think this is honestly, this episode is up there with Chain of Command and EOS. You know, the writing, special and visuals, and the voice actors' performances, it's quite possibly the best episode of the season. And is up there with those two I just mentioned. So, for the final time from season 1 of After the Storm, this is MJ Knight saying, well done to an awesome first season, and see you in season 2. See you next mission.